Mm, 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 mm.
Warm welcome to the Civil Services Coordination Interaction. So, like we always do, we'll begin the session by invoking the divine presence of the Holy Trinity. I request all of you to kindly join in prayer. Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः यथाग्निर्दाहिका शक्ति रामकृष्णे स्थिता धिया सर्वविद्यास्वरूपान्ता शारदा प्रणमाम्य नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्तसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. Deeply rooted in integrity, compassion, moral courage, and an unwavering commitment to public welfare. So, inspired by Swami Vivekananda's drive for man-making and character-building education, the Ramakrishna Mission Vijayawada aims to nurture such exemplary leaders through its civil services coaching and mentoring facilities. We all are aware that Hyderabad and Delhi are the major hubs for UPSC civil service sector preparation. This initiative is designed for sincere aspirants, especially from Andhra Pradesh, who aspire to serve Bharat through the highest offices of public service. And dear aspirants, we believe you are here today with us for that very purpose on a bright sunny day here at Vijayawada. So, with deep reverence, I offer my humble pranams to revered Function Maharaj, Assistant Secretary Ramakrishna Mission Vijayawada, revered Swami Jnanatkananda Maharaj, Director PCHC, and Shri Vikas Sir, Senior Faculty and Mentor for UPSC Civil Services Exam and member of the advisory. A warm welcome to each one of you once again. A little about Vivekananda Center for Human Excellence. The Vivekananda Center for Human Excellence, a unit of the Ramakrishna Mission Vijayawada, was established in February 2020. Guided by the motto, Awakening Potential, Inspiring Greatness, the center envisions a society where every individual, irrespective of background, can lead a life of dignity, success, and service. Inspired by the timeless idea of Swami Vivekananda, the center strives to nurture individuals who are not only highly skilled but also grounded in strong values and inner strength, which is very much required today to crack civil services exam. So VCHU offers a range of programs including personality development, mind management techniques, yoga meditation, communication skills, and notably the Civil Services Coaching and Mentoring Program, a first of its kind initiative. So, without much delay, we'll now move to the most awaited segment of today's session. It's a privilege to have with us Ms. Mansi Gupta, who secured All India Rank 78 in the UPSC Civil Services Exam 2025. She's a gold medalist in BLLB honors from the National Law School of India University, Bangalore. In her second attempt, she reached the interview stage, just falling short by 11 marks. However, In her third attempt, with remarkable dedication and patience, she bounced back and secured an All India rank 17. She was selected to our faculty recruitment drive. Let us give her a huge round of applause. Mansi, we warmly welcome you, and I now request you to kindly share your UPSC journey, your challenges, the key lessons, and the preparation strategy that helped you succeed. And after her talk, we'll open the floor for Q&A.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me here today. As ma'am has very kindly mentioned, I would just like to briefly introduce myself. I am Mansi Gupta. I come from Yamunanagar district in Haryana. This was my third attempt at the civil services, and as ma'am has mentioned, I'm a lawyer by training. I graduated from National Law School, Bangalore in 2023. I gave my first attempt while I was in college in my final semester, and then I could not clear prelims that year. I was short of 6 marks from the final cutoff, and then I appeared again in 2024. I took a drop year. I was preparing from my home only and did not go to Delhi. I was preparing from my home because I felt everything was available to me online, like all the resources were available. So I decided to prepare it from home itself. In 2024, I did clear prelims and mains, but after interview, my interview score was also good, but I did short of 9 marks in optional in law and also ethics paper in GS4 paper in mains. So that those were my fallings and I understood them. And in 2025, I had lesser time in 2025 because my interview for 2024 was in April itself, and in May I had to write the exam again. So it was a little bit of a challenge there. But because I had prepared earlier, I was able to in 2025 cover the mistake that I had made earlier. So that was the short journey of as to how I did it. First of all, I would like to know, have you all already started preparation, or are you beginners thinking of starting preparation? Thinking of starting preparation. Most of you, is there anybody who's already written an attempt? You have already written an attempt. How many attempts have you? Just one attempt you. Okay, so largely beginners only. And have you completed your graduation or you're in your college? Mostly college students. Okay. So, which means that, and which year? Second year, third year, first year? Final year, first year. Okay. So, there are different, basically college students, but different years. And first of all, to people who are in the first year, there I would like to suggest that focus on college works. Like at least for the first year of your college and even half of second year, I feel it is very important to develop the basics, whatever college teaches you. Because what happens is once we get caught up in this preparation, we often tend to neglect what college teaches us. And those skills, by participating in different things, by learning our core subjects, they ultimately become your fallback. Because this exam is very uncertain. I had failed twice. I knew this was a possibility that even third time I could fail. And I was not sure if I were to continue this preparation after this or not. So having that degree as a backup, like whatever, no matter what degree you do, that degree will always be your backup. Like if you do well in your graduation, you will have so many opportunities for higher studies, for giving other exams, even pursuing like a PhD there and getting into academia. So many options exist if you do well in your graduation. So don't compromise on that because UPSC journey can be a long journey. This graduation will always help you. I never did anything in my first 4 years of college. Mine was a 5-year degree. That's a different thing. But at least even if you're on a 3-year degree, I would not suggest that 1.5 years to do anything for UPSC specifically. All you can do is start reading the newspaper properly, so that you understand basics. If you can make out some time, you can go through the basic books, or you can at least start something, but not full-time prep, like not full-time dedication to UPSC. You can have a plan where you can start studying subject, getting an idea, basic book, NCRT, that you can read in your first year. But after that, only after that you start with a full-fledged preparation. And to people who are in their final year, it's they're about to finish like in June, then I think it's high time now that you think seriously about it. Because now is the time that you can give full-time preparation, dedication to UPSC. If your family conditions allow and you are able to dedicate full time to it, I would highly suggest at least 1 year you give full dedicatedly to UPSC. Because it requires at least 8 to 10 hours of study every day. Dedicated 8 hours is more than enough if you study every day. Because it often happens that once you are so motivated, you study 12 hours a day, but next day it comes down to 4. That is not how it will work. You need consistency, and oftentimes there will be events, there will be marriages, there will be festivals. Everything is there, and that is okay to take such gaps. Like, don't be so harsh on yourself that you will have to have like a very strict routine and cut down on your social life altogether. You need to maintain that balance. Of course, you can't be as social if you are preparing, but like attending events and having hobbies, that is good. If you play some sport, please continue doing that. If you're engaged in other activities, please make time for it. Because I am asking you to study only 8 hours a day. Even after sleeping for 8 hours, you have the rest of 8 hours. So you can productively manage your time instead of scrolling, watching Netflix and doing other things. Like, these productive things help you actually rejuvenate. I made such mistakes. I spent a lot of time on watching movies and web series. Once in a while is fine, but if you make a habit out of it, it distracts your mind during the 8 hours of study. So in terms of preparation, like, I would want you to cut down on social media, to cut down on watching movies as much as possible. No, do not completely skip it, because it is not practical in today's day, but at least maintain a balance. So that is like a general tip as to how to start preparation. Then generally, if you are a beginner, then I would first want you to understand the syllabus well. A lot of us just once go through the syllabus and close it. I want you, whatever you're studying, I want you to go through the syllabus every day in the morning. This is what I am studying, this is why I am studying. So let me take an example from polity. If I were to study polity, I would look at, and for prelims the syllabus isn't much. There are only 6 lines of syllabus for prelims. The main syllabus anchor is for the mains. This is where you will have like what is UPSC really wants you to test in particular subject. Like, I don't want you to go on just reading the books and taking notes out of the books. That is pointless. For any subject, don't do that. I made those mistakes. I have a summary of Lakshmikant. That is useless. What I want you to do is understand this game a little bit, like sub-phase wise. The exam is a lot about mains. The exam is very heavily centric on mains, because just look at it. The final score that you have in the final list, 85% of the score is mains marks. And if 85% of the score is coming from main, which makes it extremely important for you to be able to score well in mains. Like, the exam has to center around main, because often we get caught up in the prelims loop. Like, a lot of us are like, we study more for prelims, and we don't give dedicated or adequate attention or revision to mains. But this is where we lose the game. If we are very dedicated to mains and spend like a good amount, 3-4 months for prelims, I'm sure you will be able to clear prelims. Your foundation is clear when you do prepare for mains. So if you're starting, like, I'll give you an example from one subject. This is how I would like you to approach any subject. If I'm reading polity, first of all, I will go through the NCERT first. And brief reading in like 1-2 days. Just reading that book cover to cover, understanding what is there in the subject as a whole. I don't want you to make notes in the first reading that you're reading that book. Some of you might be from the humanities background, might have had read that book also earlier. But still, I would want you to at least go through that constitution book of 11 to 12 standard NCERT. You go through that, you understand what is the subject matter. Then, instead of starting the basic books, you also go through the past year questions, both prelims and mains. Now, what do I mean by go through? Generally, take 5-year question papers and just read the question. How much are you able to understand the question? I don't want you to answer those questions. Just understand what is it trying to ask, what is the question that they're trying to ask. Then you have a fair idea as to what I am in for. This is ultimately you have to answer there. Mains questions and prelims questions, both. Last 5 years, there are so many compilations available online. If you just Google search, polity questions 2022, 2025, something like this. If you Google search, you will get a lot of compilations from mains and prelims point of view. Don't be overwhelmed. Don't feel I don't know anything. That's okay because I haven't really started studying. I want you to just go through those questions, have an idea, okay, this is how this is what I'm supposed to ultimately answer. And once you have that clarity, then we come to the basics, let's say Lakshmikant for polity. I want you to then once read Lakshmikant without highlighting or anything. Once you read Lakshmikant, then you go back to PYQs again. Then you see, is there something that is making sense? For prelims, it will. For prelims, most of the things you'll be able to answer from Lakshmikant. In first reading, you might not remember answer, but you will see that, okay, I have read this somewhere. So if I will do multiple revisions, I'll be able to revise. I am the kind of person who doesn't like to make prelims specific notes because I essentially have to do the whole book. Lakshmikant and Spectrum are in point-wise format only. So I would not want you to make notes from a prelims point of view. You can write down things which you forget, but that too later at third, fourth stage revision. And first revision, first stage, I don't want you to make prelims specific notes. What I want you to make notes for will be for mains. So those questions that I told you that you will see, they are sort of like the anchor. Now in syllabus there is mentioned, so I'll give you an example. In the polity syllabus, there is one topic that is mentioned, comparison of India's constitution with other constitutions. Now it's such a vast topic, like how many constitutions are there in the world and how do I cover everything? You don't have to go on doing everything. If you look at the PYQs, you will understand in the last 10-15 years, they've only asked questions from 3 countries, France, UK and USA. Every year, they will just ask questions from these. It is possible that in some year, they'll ask different questions, but till date, that hasn't happened. So if I were to prepare that topic, what I will do is I'll make one-pager notes comparing India and France, comparing India and UK, and comparing India and USA. If there's something in news, let's say Russia was so much in news, there were elections in Russia happening, and that country is very important for India, like 1-2 more countries which are extremely important for India, from whose constitution maybe we have taken certain things, like there are 10-15 countries from whose constitution we have taken a lot of things. So if that is one country which is also in news, you can extra prepare like a 4th sheet to add that. But that's it. That's what I would want you to prepare for that topic. So now how have I narrowed down that topic based on PYQs? So if I'm going through PYQs again and again, I will understand, okay, this is what is asked in that particular thing for the last 10 years. You answer PYQs in sort of the notes you make. You also add what has been current affairs for the last 1 or 2 years. And even that sort of compilation, you don't have to do a lot of work there. You type that topic in the Google search bar. There are so many free initiatives, coaching materials, toppers notes. There are so many toppers notes that you can refer to, how they have made notes for me. And you can take hints from that also. So, there's one friend of mine who has secured 43rd rank this year. Her name is Rupal Jaiswal. She's also from law background. You can go to her Telegram channel. You can see how she has made notes. So that way you will understand, okay, this is how I'm supposed to make my own notes. Some people, like I met one ranker in Bangalore, I was there yesterday. She only relied on toppers notes. She took toppers notes, printed them out and left spaces between. So she had a base material and she added her notes, whatever current affairs was happening. So which means her strategy was a little interesting, that she already took her existing material of toppers, has done the effort, and then she added things to it. So whatever strategy you feel is fine for you, you can go to that. I also did one foundation coaching earlier and I had made some notes from there. But then I realized that those might not be exactly what sort of PYQs are coming. So from those notes, I made my notes from topper. I took different sources and I made my own notes. Like it can be topper notes, it can be compilations like mains 365 and all. That way I will add notes and I make my own notes. So once your foundation sort of is done, like in terms of you've read the book, I believe that at least 1.5 years you need before prelims to do this exam. If you're complete beginner and you're very dedicated, even then I feel like you need more than a year, at least a year, because if you just look at the magnitude of the syllabus, you have, let's say you start in June or July. Till December, I would want your optional to be done and I would want your mains notes to be prepared. And as I suggested for every topic, you will first read the NCERT if you feel you're weak in that topic. If you feel like maybe your BA honors is particularly like geography or something and you don't need to read the NCERT, then you can skip the first step and you can directly go to the main book, for example. In geography, you need to do only NCERTs. But say in polity, if you're a person who has had a polity background, you don't need to maybe read the NCERT and you can directly go to the main. So don't have like the perfect strategy for every subject. Your strategy can change across subjects depending on your level of comfort. For example, I was very weak in geography and science. So I had referred to YouTube, I had referred to 6-7 classes, key books also for geography, and I had referred to whatever that teacher was explaining, like some school teacher was explaining their geography ke, climatology things, like how winds move. I was very confused with that. So like you can use whatever help you need through online sources based on your comfort level. For every topic, every subject, I would want to go through the basics once before highlighting or anything. Then I would want you to start thinking from a mains point of view. Make notes from PYQ, from toppers notes. Like you can also refer to coaching materials available in the market if you're unable to figure it out yourself. And finally, make your own notes. Read that book, read at least in the first iteration, I would want you to read that book twice. Once just to understand and once again so that you are able to make some notes out of it, highlight the books, whatever you feel are important points of that book. Then you finish a subject. I would also want you to be very heavily focused on revision. Do a spaced revision. That is one mistake I did constantly in the first 2 years of my preparation, because I would read something, I would make notes and I would keep it and I would not go back to it. It's the most boring job to revise. It's the worst part of the preparation because every day we would want that we do new things because new things are stimulating. Like you would want like new things. But it is extremely important that you revise everything. And how do you do that? Don't pressurize yourself to learn things. If you, let's say, I studied a polity topic for 2 hours yesterday, for next day it won't take me more than half an hour to revise. So maybe 15 minutes, just read that again. So I would just go and read that again the next day. Then on the set for 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days, and like 6 months or something. Like that's how people usually revise. So even if you're not perfectly able to do that, the endeavor should be that at least I'm reading that. Don't try to memorize it again and again because there's so much to memorize that it will be very difficult for you to memorize it then and there. Just try to read those things. Read those things once, twice, thrice, so that they become a part of your subconscious memory. That's how you will revise things. In terms of answer writing, don't be very eager to write answers, because I feel initial 2-3 months you will understand it, to figure out what things are, how things are working. Once you get a hang of things, once you understand at least 1-2 subjects you have finished, only then focus on answer writing. Maybe 1 answer a day, 2 answer a day. And don't be scared because you will write very bad answers in the beginning. I also did the same and everybody does the same. So if you're writing, no matter what type of answer you're writing, if you're taking for a 7-minute answer 20 minutes, 1 hour also, that's fine. Just having that constant endeavor that I'm doing something that is important. So after you finish say 1 or 2 subjects, then you start maybe consciously taking out half an hour a day and writing 1 answer. Even for that, you can write PYQs. I think that is one of the best ways to sort of cover the syllabus and also be abreast of what is UPSC asking. Instead of maybe writing random answers, you can only write UPSC answers also. There are the certain toppers who have written those answers. You can also do one more thing that I used to do. So somebody, let's say in 2023, Aditya Srivastava sir, he scored 140 plus in GS code, ethics. So what I did was, like I scored very bad in ethics last year. What I did was I opened his copy, I saw what answer he wrote. I wrote the same answer myself first without seeing his answer. And then I compared, okay, this is something else that I could have done better. This is something else that I should have maybe, checked. That is the way you can also write answers. You can open topper copies, you can write answers from there so that you are able to have a reference point that, okay, this is something that I can achieve. You can use AI also. Whatever question you are answering, you can upload it to AI, it will evaluate. You can ask suggestions. Okay, what more data points can be added? What more things can be added to the whole thing that I am writing? So even AI don't waste your time there, because AI then gives you question to question and you are in that loop that you are just wasting your time. Stick to what you want to ask that AI. just ask that points, you can add them to your notes. Whatever new points AI give you, that existing notes, you can add it there and then. That will also enhance your notes. There is no perfect one book that will give you every answer in this exam. You will have to use different sources to be able to answer. So many sources are available on Telegram, but then second problem becomes there's a source overload, information overload also. Stick to one or two sources only, like one main book, one value addition source, one current affairs source. Like if you keep on adding things from here and there, it will become a problem. Your problem, like of course you would want to have value addition that can happen through say topper copies. That can happen through final current affairs ka shota compilation. That and all you can do, but don't read too many books. I had first, when I had thought of preparing, I went to Delhi and I bought like at least 10,000 rupees worth books. So many books I bought for all the subjects. But then I realized that I don't have to read so many books. I can't possibly read so many books for every subject. So that's not what I would want you to do. I would want you to be very patient. Take one subject at a time or two subjects at a time. I would ideally suggest take one subject at a time and start with your optional also. Choose your optional very wisely, because optional is something that will make or break your marks. As has happened with me, I scored 228 last year, which is a very low score. And that was one of the reasons I did not make the list. So choosing your option is very important. You can either choose something which is your graduation subject, or you can choose any other subject where you are comfortable in. Take some 2-3 weeks to choose that optional. Go through the past year questions. Go through the basic materials. IGNOU materials are available online. The Indira Gandhi Open National Open University. You can go through those materials. You can see what sort of inclination do you have. Do you like sociology? Do you like political science, geography? All of these things. Like there are so many subjects. Go through the list that UPSC provides. See for yourself what are the 2-3 options you like. Then go through their past year questions. Availability of materials, availability of coaching. If you want to take coaching, like all these factors you should take into your mind and then choose an option. Because see, a lot of times people just look at it mathematically. People often in the top 100 score up to 280, 300 marks in optional. That is almost equivalent to 3 GS papers. Like what you score in 3 GS papers, you will score in 2 optional papers. Which means you cannot neglect the importance of optional. It is giving you an edge over others. So many people who have scored low in GS but have 310, 320 marks in optional are higher ranked than above me. Because I have only 264 in optional. My optional is not a very scoring optional. Yet I chose to do it because I felt like law is a competitive area. There are people who have gotten 280 marks in law, but still that's not 300. So that's a trade-off you can make also for you. Like people choose medical science and all also have options. But that informed choice has to be yours. Look at different optionals, look at how people have performed. And don't always be like that, okay, in sociology and political science people get 300. There are people who get 220 there also. So choose something which is of your comfort. Having a 270, 280 is better than having a 220 in an optional, which you felt was scoring earlier, but is not really helpful for you. Because you might not do well in that option, even though there are toppers with 3. So choose an optional properly for you. Newspaper reading, I think, is something you should definitely start. Whatever, no matter what stage you are at, you are in first year of college, final year of college, graduated from college, read the newspaper every day properly. And initially, it will take a lot of time for you to understand how to read the newspaper, because we often tend to not have a sense of how do I cover the newspaper. Newspaper often has a lot of political news, sports news, so we might get distracted. It is important that for newspaper at least, you stick to the syllabus. Once in your initial days of prep, take out 15 minutes, read the syllabus every day. People often go to the extent of saying memorize the syllabus. I don't know how well you can memorize it initially, but if you read it every day, within a month you memorize the syllabus. So read it every day, and once within a month you memorize that syllabus, then newspaper reading will become easy for you. You will understand, oh, this fits in international relations, oh, this fits in GS3. So that sort of idea that connects you with newspaper will help you ultimately read newspaper. You don't have to make notes of newspaper. What you can do is, you can highlight some things. You can use even your phones or laptops or whatever devices you use, and whatever new points you have. Don't make a full notes out of an editorial that you read. whatever new points, whatever data points, some quotations, some story for essay or ethics, whatever you get, you can make 4 folders, or in WhatsApp, you can make 4 WhatsApp groups and keep typing those 1, 1, 2, 2 things new that you get in newspaper. Initially, you might feel everything is new. So don't do that at least for 3-4 months. Just read the newspaper for 3-4 months. And then you start adding these things. After 3-4 months, when you have a fair idea of what I am reading and how this will fit into something, then you can do this exercise of adding things and value. This is a value addition sort for your PSK notes. The main notes will come from your basic sources. And then on top of that, if you add these things, that I'll give you an example from polity again. For example, in parliament, if a question is asked in mains about the role of speaker, let's say. Now, speaker is the head of the parliament body and he conducts these meetings, A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Everything is there in Lakshmikant. I made a note out of the role of speaker. But if there's some data point that I find in newspaper, that okay, for so-and-so year, speaker has done this, or this is the percentage of attendance in parliament, something like that. That I will add to my existing notes. Like this new point now will enhance my answer that was already existing from basic Lakshmikant book. This is how you will add notes. You will add value also from topper copies. Once you read a topper copies, you say, okay, they have added certain new points and I can add that. So, like this value addition is a continuous process. Once you finish a subject, don't aim for perfection. 50 to 60% coverage from those books are enough for first thing. Later, when you revise that subject, between prelims and mains, there you will do value addition. So don't aim for perfection on day one. That's a mistake that all of us do. Because we then collect 3-4 books or like 3-4 notes of different coaches from market and try to make a best notes for ourselves. Don't do that mistake. They stick to one thing. If you like some topper notes, stick to that main book and one topper notes to help you. Make some notes out of it, however you feel fine. And then just move on of that. Keep revising whatever you have done so far. If from newspaper, let's say you can make it a weekly or a bi-weekly habit. That, okay, these are the points I collected from newspaper for GS2. Now I will add that to my existing. Don't have to add every day, but it will take a lot of time to open every notes and keep adding things. So you can make it like a 15-day exercise or a monthly exercise so that you can be able to manage it. Notes you can take digitally also and handwritten also, depending on your comfort. I chose handwritten notes because I felt like it will go directly to my brain if I write. But at times with handwritten notes, the problem is that it will become too bulky. It will be difficult to add new points there. So people use sheets instead of making it in notebooks. People use plain sheet and then they write and they leave spaces like they write on 70% of the page, leave the bottom so that you can add new points. Or you can attach new sheets. You can attach sticky notes. So this sort of exercise you will have to do. But that's a continuous process. For beginning, it's important. Don't read every subject. Stick to one subject. Follow process for every subject. Have a timeline in mind. If you're preparing for a year, have that timeline that okay, and be flexible with the timeline. That if you want to finish these things in say 8 months, in that 8 months, you should be able to have a dedicated time that month-wise, this is how my months are going to look like. I am going to finish polity in say 1.5 months, geography in this many time. And then you see that, okay, you are struggling with the subject and you have to, increase timeline for that subject. Have that sort of buffer also. That after every 1-2 months, take a 10-15 days buffer so that if you are struggling with one subject, you're able to cover it there. Then your timetable for the whole year is not there. So try to make a subject-wise plan schedule according to your comfort. Some subjects you might be good in, some subjects you might not be that good in. So accordingly make that schedule for yourself. And I think that's how you go about in the initial 6-8 months, that's how you will go about it. Once that period is over and once like the year you're supposed to attend, 4 or 5 months before that, you should start exclusively for prelims. And that exclusively for prelims will come through the basic books that you've read there. Once you have read those basic books, those basic books now will become your most important friend. Because the mains note that we made are different from what we are supposed to do in prelims. Prelims is an objective exam. It is not, they'll not ask me a lot of things in detail or my opinions on a lot of things. Prelims, I need to know specific. I need to know what article the speaker is from. I might not know exactly all the roles that speaker do and I might be able to eliminate a few options. But prelims is a very different game. In that game, you need to know what is the specific things, what is that phenomena, like the names, the words, the proper numbers, even like geography, the phenomena, everything. And there, that is where your basic books will be extremely important. Because even if I solve with a 2025 paper, you will see so many questions you will solve just by basics. Economics ka basic NCERT or any other one books like Vivek Singh or Ramesh Singh you can take. You can just solve so many questions with those books. Which means your basic has to be very important for prelims. Mains where you do all that value addition and like going layer by layer, going above the base mark. But in prelims, go back to the basics. I want you to read Lakshmikant at least 2-3 times again before the prelims. I want you to do at least 3 or 4 revisions for prelims. Because there your memory has to show there. That okay, you remember a lot of things. Going to the basic, like for NCRTs you stick to. Some NCRTs are very important, like geography NCRT for class 11. That is extremely important. For polity also, I feel going to the NCRT is important because there's so many terms from 11th class political science books come. So that is important. History, a lot of people refer to Tamil Nadu board class 11 NCRT. You can choose to do that, or you can read old NCRTs, all CBSE NCRTs that you can do. Then polity, Lakshmikant is more than enough. If you can, then I highly advise you to read the Bare Act of Constitution for polity. Because so many questions directly are asked. I'll give you an example. The question was, like the provision of constitution mentioned the term political party in the constitution. This you will not know unless you have read the constitution. In Lakshmikant, you will read and you will not find political party. But if you have read the constitution, you will know in 10th schedule they mention political parties. So, like these sort of questions, that whether this word is there in constitution or not, and over the last 3-4 years, those questions have been asked. So if you can go through the Bare Act, just read it properly 2-3 times, that will help you solve some polity questions. That is there. Science and Tech, there's no perfect book because NCRTs sometimes are not helpful for Science and Tech. There are a few chapters of Bio NCRT for environment that we read, but generally for Science and Tech, you can refer to current affairs compilations like PPT 65 and all. And for understanding basics, you can shortlist mains ka topics. You can YouTube them, you can Google search them and make your notes out of that. Prelims, thoda science is a little struggling. For environment, I refer to PMF IAS book or Shankar IAS, whatever you feel like doing, you can have that. Then I think Art and Culture, there's Nitin Singhania sir's book, you can read that. And like those books are already in notes format for modern history spectrum. That is like a non-negotiable book, a lot of people keep them. So these are the sort of a basic book list that almost everybody follows. And if you read any topper interview or like ask anybody, this is all what they will do. So for prelims, at least you will stick to these only. You will add this with current affairs. Anything can be your source. We read newspaper, and I asked you not to make notes out of newspaper. Some people do that, but instead, I think a better idea is to go through the compilation which coachings provide, because those compilation is a better sort of form of notes than you would get. And you would not, I would not want you to spend 2 hours every day making notes when you could have revised. So instead, you can take those coaching compilations and read for prelims, the current affairs and static, as I've told you. Then mocks will become very important. For prelims, like for developing an objectives of the aptitude, I would want you to give as many mocks as possible. Not too many that you can't analyze them also, but give a sufficient number of mocks, both sectional and full length. And so that you are able to analyze those mocks. For like again, polity example, you can give at least 3-4 sectional tests in polity so that you know where are the areas you are tackling. And second time you revise, you emphasize more on those areas that you are tackling. I realize that parliament is something I don't remember. I don't remember the specifics of who appoints a speaker, who removes a speaker, where does he submit his resignation to. Like all these small things, which while reading you don't feel are important. But then when I question you, will feel that, okay, I don't know this. So through testing, you will be able to identify your weak areas, make notes of that tests. Wherever you feel that you have lacked, make notes of those tests. I make those notes more than 24 and 25, and I revise them like in 25. That was a sort of a source for me for revision. That okay, these are my mistakes. Make a mistakes notebook. And that mistakes notebook will then help you ultimately give those tests. PYQs are very important. PYQs we will see once when we are preparing, and now is the time when we are preparing for prelims to have that 10-year, 15-year PYQ at least, you just have to understand two ways of doing PYQs. First is to understand the language and context of particular subject. Like for policy again, you see every topic में what all question are UPSC asked. Do that exercise at least twice or thrice so that you know the questions and the answer and the options. Kabhi, like just for the options also prepare what is being asked. For example, in art and culture, they'll give you like 4 thinkers and like some quotations. Like for Ramanujacharya, there was a question in 2022. Like something he had mentioned, something like a quote has been mentioned, and like how do you identify who is that? Now there were 4 thinkers that were given in the options. Now we know answer was like there was a Bhakti tradition question only. Answer we knew was a Ramanujacharya. There were 4 others. So if I were in your place, I would prepare notes to all those 4 others. Like what are their contributions also. So preparing options for PYQs is also important. Whatever has been asked in PYQs in terms of options, you can prepare that also. So those also become like the mistakes notebook plus this PYQ ka analysis ke notes. All of that will also become a source for you to revise at the ultimate day for that. And then second way of doing PYQs will be a timeline based. So that now after doing each subject-wise PYQs, like 15 days before the exam or 1 month before the exam, I would go through a whole paper deep. Then I'll see how am I able to do different subjects altogether. Like I'll have 10 questions from polity, 10 questions from science, all of that. How am I able to do it now? So at least 3 times doing PYQs will help you understand PYQs, know the content of PYQs. Questions do repeat. Like there was this Hara Ghatta, the water wheel question this year, which was repeated from a previous year question. Questions repeat, questions pattern repeat. You will, if you do UPSC questions, you will know the language of UPSC. You'll be able to eliminate better. So that and all I would want you to do for prelims. And these 3 things, PYQs, mocks, static with current affairs, like 4 things with current affairs. These 4 things I think will help you again get good marks in prelims. So that was about prelims. Mains I had already explained. I think after prelims, between prelims and mains, the notes that you have prepared will really help you there. At that time, I would want you to do answer writing every day, give full length answers. So process remains the same. As for prelims, we focused more on like objective things. Now we focus more on subjective things between prelims and mains. And that's where we give weekly tests. That's where we analyze and add value to our answer. You'll add current affairs of that years to your notes. So that's how everything get compiled for like between prelims and mains. So this is like a snapshot of how you deal with the exam, and this is how you generally prepare. And after this, now I'll open for questions. Thank you everyone.
I think
all the codes should be
any quick question with respect to prelims?
Madam,
any personal tips on mains writing, mains answer writing, personal tips?
Your personal tips.
instead of writing every day, I would brainstorm questions, because during prelims and mains is a lot of time problem. And my optional was huge. I had to dedicate a lot of time to do my optional. And because previously I had scored low, also I was very scared of optional. So for GS answer writing, what I would do is take PYQs. Instead of a 7-minute answer writing, I would go to a 3-minute brainstorm as to what all I can write in that answer. Instead of actually writing it on paper, which like the keywords of that question. So that is one tip. Secondly, in terms of answer writing, always have a structure in mind. Like if I'm writing introduction or a conclusion, I will try to prepare them beforehand for different questions. Like if there's a federalism question, I would want to have either a definition or a quotation, something that the judge might have said in the judgment, or something like I know that these are the thinkers that I can use there. So for different subjects, everything there will be something that I can use. For Article 21, there will be something that I'll use in that question. Of course, I won't force it to question if it doesn't make sense. But even general question, I can use that. So that introduction and conclusion, I will prepare those topics. Some introduction points, some conclusion points I'll prepare. That is one. Secondly, also dimensionally right. I think everybody sort of doing that now. So any impact question, any causes, any problems, any solutions, that I would want you to give from a different like pestle angle, political, economic, social, technological, environmental, legal. Like all of the dimensions are sort of covering through those questions. Like for example, again, if it's a question of, I'll give you a different example. I'll give you an art and culture example. So a question was asked, I think in one of the years when it would make P, that how is the depiction of art and culture showed the life of people in medieval India? Do you understand? Like if you go to the temples here, you will see how there are so many things that are engraved on the temples. Like there are so many dancing murals. There are so many things that are there on temples engraved. Now the question is asking me how that art and culture sculpture or the way temples are made, how it shows social and economic life of that time. So I will give sort of all examples that there are sometimes you will observe on temples there is a sabha that is sitting like a political sabha. So there from a political angle I'll assume that it showed that how there was like in Tamil Nadu there was an egalitarian system. That I will say. From an economic angle I'll show like I can say that the materials they use sometimes they made old temples, sometimes they made one particular temple, which showed that the society was a progressing society. I can also show a timeline difference, but like sometimes they ask like a difference of Pallava architecture versus Chola architecture. Now you will see how materials have changed, how metallurgy has changed, how the way they have constructed temples have changed. So like having that approach, having the broad approach, even that can give me a science point also that metallurgically there are so many changes that have happened in society. Society has become advanced. There are so many wells, pulley system that has come. Like the way wells are made, the way ponds are constructed, the way even like a pyramidical structure of the temples are made. That is sort of telling me that even temple architecture gives me like a different dimension. I don't just have to write about the temple. I will have to write about how this has a different impact on polity, economy, social, sociological. Some temples show marriages, some temples show dances. So all of those examples I will give. That in XYZ temple, this is the wedding. So which means that temples showed that during that time there was these things, there was sabha happening in society. Society had like a swayamvar, like a marriage kind of system. All of these things will come to you if you think from those angles. Like so angle, having a broad angle, having broad dimensions, and that dimensions very importantly can come from syllabus. So learning syllabus will help you here. Like GS1, history, history and then geography and society. All of these things gives you dimension. I can even tell you that geographically temples are so different. Like if one temple is situated in an area where you find granite, and area where you find sandstone, you will see how different temples are constructed with different materials. So having those having those syllabus dimensions in your head will give you a dimension for answer writing also.
Thank you, ma'am.
So how was your experience for the questions? So, in terms of very interesting experience, the best part of the preparation, it is relatively chill compared to the other half of the preparation. You don't have to study as much, but you have to be very you need to think a lot because you need to have opinions on everything that is going on. That is where it is different from preliminary. There's a lot of syllabus-centric approach, writing approach. Here, if I ask two very pointed questions as to how are India's interests being impacted by Iran war, you need to give me in 1 minute 3 or 4 main points. That is the level of preparation you would want sort of every question you ask. Both my interviews were with the same board. It was with Shilbardhan 6 board, and I got 195 previous year, 201 this year. So there was a decent score to have in both the years, and very luckily, a lot of my questions were law-centric questions. Given my background as a lawyer and also my options as well, a lot of those questions were law-centric. That asked me in terms of justice system, why are there so much pendency? How can we improve the case judge disposal system? Like there are so much in the courts, so many cases are lacking. How can that be improved? That asked me on public interest litigation. You know, is that a good move? But there's problems with that. That also asked me questions where I was challenged in terms of how they asked me, do you think the government is blatantly not following the rules? Now, in these sort of questions, you have to be very balanced. If there are certain problems, you point out those problems. But you can't be cynical. You need to give them a perfect problem. You need to give them a solution to the problem. That if there are certain violations of rules, you tell how courts will step in. And you tell how if government feels something in their challenges, how government is not shying away from taking it back. Like there was farm laws that were rolled back because farmers were not consulted. So many things like that have happened. So don't be negative. Like having a positive approach really helped me too. So that was sort of my interview.
You see here, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, Balaji was trying to say, yeah, right. So, ma'am, can you tell us if there is answer it? How we have to take the answer?
Okay, so for framing, like every answer structure depends on the question that is being asked. But generally, I would want you to look at how you follow an introduction, body, conclusion, thought. And in an introduction, you would sort of explain what is being asked. So if it is a question on, say, India, there is a center and state tussle, and there's an India and center and state tussle at the center currently happening, and certain states feel that their interests are not being taken care of. Do you think that is the case, and how can that be improved? If this is the question that is being asked, now you will first tell that Indian Constitution provides for a federalism model, and wherein center and state share power among each other. That's how you will explain. You will do an introduction to that question. Then you will say instances where this is not be followed. Instances of center and state tussle. You will explain that topic first well. And then you will say that, okay, XYZ has handled the issue of fiscal cutting, money popping devolved states, and so many things. So you can points that you will explain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You will explain the issue. Like that issue in this question was there is a difference between what center and state are. Now then you tell me, okay, there are certain because everything is not the problem. In federalism also there are certain things that are being followed. States are being consulted. In Niti Aayog there is representation of every state. So you will explain, you will give me 3, 4 counterpoints to that, and then you give a solution. 3, 4 points to you give a solution also. That okay, this can be done, more consultation from this state, or following like the lists that are there. If you are a constitutional king, you will know there are 3 lists in the constitution. So following that and having more clarity in the list, you give them some 3, 4 solutions, and then you confuse that how the federalism is a part of a basic structure. You breaking a basic structure doctrine. Right? This is a part of basic structure, and for like a progress of India, it is important that that is looked at. So that's how generally every answer will work. Now, different subjects will work differently. Like ethics might not work this way, but mostly JS 123 will work this way.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you for the explaining. And the question is, how all this syllabus is for a real citizen? It's simple timing, but I want to.
It is actually pretty relevant because what all is being tested, if you just see how a district works, just like there can be a disaster and there can be a cyclone, let's say. There can be a stampede, and like that happened in Chipsong Stadium last year in this IPL match. At least 11 people died because of stampede. So all of these situations in Kumbh, that same thing happened. If I haven't read disaster management part of GS3 syllabus, I don't know the basics of how crowd works, how crowd functions, what is a DM supposed to be there. Of course, all these things will be taught to us more practically when we join the training. But having a foundation of that is important. Even you feel like, what is the point of reading history, for example? But you just look at it, that there are so many like people in India, like as Swamiji was mentioning, we as a civilization is very different from other civilizations. Our historical things continue to affect us till date. Like whatever we are taught in history, like the way our caste system functions, why are we the way we are? Why do we construct our temples the way it is constructed? It becomes a huge political issue. It becomes a huge public issue. People's lives are associated to that history. There's a particular way as to how traditions work. Unless you know all of that, unless you know your country properly, you might think these are not relevant things for you for the exam. But all of that will make sense once you are in the curve. You are dealing with real people there. If you don't know their history, if you don't know for example, geography. Now in geography, you will understand that how islands work differently from a desert? What are the problems of people in desert versus the problem of people in land? And like very specific geophysics phenomena. Why do I need to know earthquakes? Why do I need to know that where magma comes from and where lava goes to and all of that? I need to know that because there are situations where that will happen to your life. I need to know how do I control that situation. Like it's not just every day I'm dealing with all these problems which have a real impact. Everything that you will read in syllabus will ultimately in some form or the other have a real impact. Even scientific things, the things that we are seeing like axiom formation, Gaganyaan mission, all of that we are sending to space. That has real impact on how we are going to then do scientific research. I can be from district magistrate, later I become sub-secretary at some of the one of the parliament. If I don't understand how my science industry works, how am I going to frame policies for that? So everything will have a repercussion in your career. That is why the syllabus becomes important. The 4-year degree you are asking that, does it affect?
Does it? Please.
No, absolutely not. Because there are so many people from different degrees, different backgrounds, and having worked for some years, a couple of drop years, there are every kind of person that you will find in this preparation. I recently found a mother who had 5 kids. She was also PG at rank 65. So she is also prepared after having a lot of gaps, also having studied different degrees and then giving.
Okay. 3 years. 3 years degree I completed in 4 years.
That is absolutely okay. No, that's not a problem. That now you have so much time to do that. I was giving you an example of these women because they have also taken so much break from their career. You have only had 1 year of break. People have 5 years of break. Even then, they're able to, get to the exam level. You will be able to.
But I was on the work how this teams. And one question about the option selection after reviewing and
Okay, so first question on CSAT. So since I had given CLAT in 12th standard for the entrance test, so it is the same syllabus as CLAT. So for me, it was not a big challenge in that sense because I had already done maths practice, logic practice there. But for CSAT approach, I would want you to first go through last year's paper and solve it and see how much you're able to solve because they're expecting you to have a 10th standard maths knowledge. Generally, it's like that. English is also not very fast. So if you solve it and see how much are you able to solve, that's your baseline assessment for CSAT. Then you see, okay, these are my weak areas. Am I more weak in English or in logic or in maths? Then first you have assessed that, then I would want you to, and mostly people are unable to do maths questions because sometimes you've forgotten your basics of 10th standard. So then I would want you to revise those again. You can go through any YouTube playlist and you can make notes out of what they're teaching. You can also refer to some books that are available in market. Like I think Arun Sharma for verbal, GMAT, like all these CAT books. One of those books also you can refer to. Basically, you need to know objective 10th standard maths. Some topics might be not 10th standard probability quantification, but mostly are. Identify those topics like number system, permutation, probability that is often asked in UPSC. And these are the areas that you can prepare. You practice those questions for that CPAT or for those maths. For RC, you read newspaper 1, it'll increase your reading speed. And second, you practice. You practice from PYQs. Because there are so many last 10, 15 year questions. So many every year, almost 30, 20, 30 reading comprehensions are there. So that gives you a good 300, 400 question pool to practice from. So you practice from there first and see how much are you able to develop that aptitude of understanding what is UPSC asking. Are you able to see the assumptions, the inferences that is asked in RT? And that's you prepare and then you can later give mocks. I think 2 mocks would be enough. More than that, I don't think you need to spend a lot of time.
Could you suggest any options for BTech student?
See,
For BTech student, any options you suggest?
See, there's no perfect answer to effectiveness question because I have seen people do well with engineering subjects also. There are people who choose mechanical engineering, whatever background they come from, those subjects. And first, you can check the list of UPSC also, what all is there. There can be two options for you. One, if you are very good in your graduation subject and you want to pursue that, you can pursue that. Because there is coaching also available, because the UPSC conducts the engineering services exams. I don't know, there's GATE exam, I think, and there's also an engineering services examination. So, which means there's coaching for that also. But secondly, you can also consider choosing optional from the arts side. Like arts background, may a few popular options as sociology, political science and international relations, public administration. Some people do choose psychology also. So, and anthropology. These 4-5 options are little more popular than other. But I would not suggest that you choose them based on popularity or based on what top of school. You see whatever you like. If you're like a lot of people are comfortable with their graduation, they choose maths and physics. Maths and physics are very scoring subjects. Well, like because they're objective by nature, you can score up to like 320 also there. But since they're objective, if you're wrong, you come down to 200 also. So that's a trade-off that you have to take based on how comfortable you are in those subjects. These are the options that you can search for. I know a couple of people who have done it, but then you have to be mindful that your timeline may exceed. Like it might not be possible to prepare the whole thing in a year. It is possible that it might take some more time for you to cover the syllabus. Because any job will be at least a 9 to 5 job. It can be even more than that. And then taking out 3-4 hours a day versus doing that at 8 hours, it might take a little bit more time. So I'm not discouraging you from taking a job. Just be mindful that it might take more time. Have patience there. You can be quick. You can choose certain ways of like if you're comfortable with some NCRTs, you can skip some NCRTs. You can do a job, like you can choose some kind of short thing there. Like what is something that you can skip? Like you don't have to follow the whole process every day. You can use topper notes as your base course. That's what people do. Like you can put in some smart work there as per your particular situation, but then also show some patience if you're doing the job. That oftentimes people do a job and might not be able to do this first time. But there are people like last year anime too. He was doing the job and he cleared him first time too. So there are people who do it that way. So there are people who clear it that way also. But just be mindful that it might take some time, so don't lose patience.
Does happen like for
What matter?
handwriting?
Handwriting. I mean, it shouldn't be like a great handwriting, but if it's a very poor handwriting, legibility is the issue. So the more you will write, legibility will become better. I have seen people who, like my own seniors from college, whose writing I absolutely didn't understand, but because they kept writing, eventually at least legibility was there. That's possible. You need to have a beautiful handwriting, but I am able to understand that handwriting. That's
Good afternoon. During the preparation, face a lot of problems and what are the strengths to all this? And what are the advice to give those aspirants?
So problems are invariable. Every person who has cleared this exam has always faced some sort of problem. Mental health challenges, physical health challenges, economic challenges, and like generally feeling lonely, not having people to talk to. Preparation will be very isolated. That's there for sure. So, like the strength comes from the fact that you do small things. You are either grounded in spirituality, that is one refuge that people have. Second is it's also like you spending time with your family, with your friends. Like don't go overboard and spend all your day there. But having some time that you are there, like it's okay. Like your parents will tell you it's okay. Your friends will tell you that it's okay. And you're failing, it's okay. You're not able to complete your target. Just be patient. Just every day, whenever you feel something, you can do journaling. You can reflect. Like what is happening in my mind? How am I feeling? You can do all of that. And if there is some bigger problem, always seek help. Like I don't think it is like it takes a village to clear this exam. Like literally, you need so many people. You need support of so many people, and all of them are there to support you. You just need to ask for that thing. Also, keep remembering the reason why you're doing this. always have a why. I can just say if you have a why, you can do it anyhow. So if you have that reason as to why am I doing this, you can always take a break, take a 1-2 day break if you are not able to do something, but come back to it. Come back to it because this is why ABC is the reason I want to do. So just keep remembering that and keep back. So what is the suggestion you would like to give to for preparation? I did not know that this process that I told you as to how to prepare. I did not know. I would just read the books, close the books. That's it. I'd forgotten that. I would tell my younger folks to be patient, to have that, to do the proper process. If I'm telling you 5 revision sessions, that stays 5 revisions. So that is one thing. Like I would tell myself that revision is non-negotiable. I would tell myself that don't, like I was about to give up in a lot of stages. Okay, I should not do this. I have a low degree. I should pursue law. That I should know. I should tell myself to be a little bit. This is not more patient. Like if I'm failing a test, getting low score in test, that's no reason to quit. That's no reason to tell myself that I will not be able to do it. And like I would like to tell you one more funny. Like after I cleared the exam, I was really angry with myself. That why am I underestimating myself? Before the result, I was praying to God that somehow I just get some marks, some rank in the list. And then once I cleared and once I met other people who have ranked more above me, and I saw them like they're very normal people. They're not somebody who are like excellent people. Because last time I felt that maybe like there's some issue that I'm not able to do it, or maybe they have some better sort of understanding or whatever. But like I was very angry at myself. Like why was I underestimating myself? Why was I thinking that I can't do it and I won't be able to do it? And top of it, it's impossible. So of course, those all thoughts come after you clear. But to my younger self, I would say be a little bit more self-confident. You can do this exam. The only requirement they ask you for a graduation. You don't have to like be the topper of this category. You should have self-confidence.
Then how we bounce back to the other item? 2 months.
Okay.
How did you bounce back to the third examination?
So first was in college only, and that time so I didn't really know. But in second attempt, there was a first proper attempt. So the third attempt, there was no time only. Like after second attempt, because I reached the interview stage, and the next one I had to write prelims, there was no time to literally celebrate my loss. There was no time to mourn, and I really had to just get back because otherwise I would have missed this attempt also. So, like if I were to have, let's say, if I don't see I would take a month off or at least 15 days off. I would again get it aligned with myself and my thoughts. I would tell to myself that that's the reason I was telling you, having a why. If I have a why, I'm dedicating one more year. I need to be very sure of that. Okay, this is the reason I want to do it. Now it is not an easy task. It's the toughest exam of the country. It's not the easiest thing. Then again, if I continuously remind myself, okay, this is my motivation to do it, then no matter how many failures you face, you will eventually. Thank you.
So like I think give the quality of time to move to the next segment and the same people are also asking multiple questions. So we try to close